welcome to the Daily Crime Vault. And today we're going to be talking about the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez and David Anthony Burke. Okay, so when I first heard about this case, I had no clue who David was. And I didn't do any heavy or deep dives into who he was. I just know that he's TikTok famous artist, whatever. He's out there singing about whatever. So it was February 15th, 2024 is the first time that she was reported missing. And it was reported that she also returned back home, but then she left again. And she was reported missing on March 19th, 2024 for the second time. And then the last time was April 5th, 2024. A Tesla was reported abandoned in Hollywood Hills, California. It was towed from the location and taken to the Hollywood Impound Yard on Mansfield Avenue. Workers reported a foul odor on September 8th, 2025. The police were notified and responded, opening the car and discovering human remains. Weeks later, they identified the human remains as Celeste Rivas Hernandez through DNA testing and comparison with missing persons report. Visual identification was not possible due to composition. So when they found her, she was badly decomposed. And later, the car owner is identified as David Anthony Burke, aka D4VD. The autopsy findings had initially been sealed by court during the homicide investigations before being released in April 2026. The home that David was currently living in, it was not his home. He was renting that home from a property owner. And when LAPD came in and they was collecting evidence and everything, they wouldn't tell the homeowner anything. Now, with that being said, the homeowner hired a PI, a private investigator. And his name is Steve Fisher. I think he's really, really popular. I saw the interview he did on the Nancy Grace YouTube channel, and we're about to get into that. So Steve Fisher is a private investigator who was hired by the homeowner of the Hollywood Hills property that David was renting. The property owner hired him because he wanted to know whether anything connected to we're not calling him no D4VD. Your name is David. We know your government now. Well, at least everybody who didn't know who you were, they know your name now. So we're going to call you David, okay? The property owner hired him because he wanted to know whether anything connected to David and the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez had happened inside or around his rental property. Fisher said publicly that the owner wanted to understand if his house played a role in any way. Reports also suggested that the homeowner had concerns because LAPD had searched the property. The house became publicly tied to the investigation. There could be legal or financial implications if a crime occurred there. And California disclosure laws may require owners to disclose deaths connected to the property to future renters and buyers. Now that's crazy. You're messing up his money. Fisher later said he was hired specifically to inspect the home after authorities completed their searches and after items connected to David were still inside of the residence. Steve Fisher publicly claimed he found or documented several things at the rental property that he believed were overlooked or important evidence. The main points he discussed were a chainsaw at the home that he thought could be relevant to prosecutors' later allegation about dismemberment, a burn cage / incinerator type setup outside the property. Digital storage items including reports of an SD card with photos / videos, and concerns that some items were not initially collected by investigators. He also pushed the theory that there may have been more activity at the house than what was first publicly known. However, none of Fisher's statements alone prove guilt. Some of Fisher's claims will be echoed by prosecutors in future court hearings and proceedings, while other claims remain speculation discussed in media interviews and online. I want to talk about some of the things that I've seen online when this case first came about. The first thing that I saw was that she was pregnant. The second thing was them actually connecting Celeste to David after they found out the identities and everything. There were pictures of David like doing a show, and like if you pay attention to the background, Celeste got a black hoodie on with the hood up. People having like close-ups, doing the zoom in. And at one point it was two females named Celeste. When he was arrested, her name was brought up again, the other Celeste. So I'm just laying out the investigation the way it was played out in real time, if that make any sense, because there was a big gap in this investigation. Like right after they collected all the evidence, everything went silent. Steve Fisher did a couple of interviews, and like Nancy Grace was like egging him on, but he can't really say anything because LAPD wanted nothing to get out. Nothing. The medical examiner ruled Celeste Rivas Hernandez death as a homicide, and cause of death is multiple sharp force injuries. Her body showed penetrating trauma wounds consistent with a sharp object. Multiple wound patterns indicate that it was with repeated force and intentional assault. 2 major penetrating wounds to the torso, and one injury to the liver, ribs, chest area. Her body was decomposed, limiting some detailed internal analysis. Forensic pathologists relied heavily on skeletal injury patterns, tissue remnants, and DNA confirmation. Missing fingers on the left hand that investigators described as mutilated postmortem. Toxicology reportedly showed presumptive positives, I hope I'm saying that right, for, I don't know how to pronounce this word. It starts with a B, and it's medicine. Medicine. Do I want to say that's medicine? Drugs. Let's just say that. And meth / MDMA, though decomposition complicated interpretation. So they found drugs in her system. And then once we get into the court documents, that has the full autopsy report. I just really sugarcoated it right here. Earlier, as the investigation was underway, investigators announced that David was not a suspect and that he was cooperating with authorities. Late 2025, early 2026, he was named a suspect and a target of a grand jury investigation. At one point, they said that he wasn't a suspect and he was cooperating. I was thinking, okay, so if he's not a suspect, then it sounds like somebody trying to set him up. I watched a video, and it was reported that someone called 911 and sent them to his parents' house, saying it was like a crime being committed or something like that. So with that being said, I thought somebody was really trying to set him up. So after that, everything just went silent. It was nothing. No updates. No, it was nothing. LAPD gave us nothing. But I kind of understand it because this is a serious case involving a minor. So I understand that. But I don't know, this case got me in a chokehold because I was feeling some type of way. I'm pretty sure everybody was feeling some type of way, like, hey, where are we at in the case? What are we doing? What are we doing? And then we hear something about a grand jury investigation. Never heard of it. So just in case you haven't heard of it either, I'm going to break it down for you. A grand jury investigation is a legal process used in the United States to determine whether there is enough evidence to formally charge someone with a crime. A grand jury is a group of citizens, usually 16 to 23 people, who are selected to review evidence presented by a prosecutor. The main goal is not to decide guilt or innocence, but to answer one question. Is there probable cause to believe a crime was committed and that specific person committed it? A prosecutor presents evidence, witnesses, and documents. The person being investigated usually does not have their lawyer present inside the room. The defense typically does not present evidence at this stage. Now, here are the possible outcomes. After reviewing the evidence, the grand jury can issue an indictment, formal criminal charges are filed, issue a no bill, which is not enough evidence to charge. Why is it used? Serious federal crimes and complex cases like fraud, corruption, and organized crimes. This is a serious federal crime, you guys. Oh, y'all, I was jumping for joy when they arrested this man. When I tell y'all, oh my God, I was so fucking happy. Okay, so now we're gonna get ready to talk about his friend Neo Langston. The subpoena involving Neo Langston was part of the Los Angeles County grand jury investigation into the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Public records and reporting state that prosecutors wanted Neo to testify as a witness because of his close relationship with David and his possible knowledge of events connected to the case. Neo Langston was served with a grand jury subpoena ordering him to appear and testify in Los Angeles. He was arrested in Helena, Montana in January 2026 on a warrant tied to the missed subpoena appearance. Y'all, if y'all get subpoenaed to do anything, just go because they're going to find you. Go in there, do what it do, and bring your ass back out. Okay, let me just say this. Everybody who was around David when he was abusing Celeste, they need to be locked the fuck up too. They should get locked up too. They need to get locked up too. They need to get locked up too. After being taken into custody, reports said he was transported back to Los Angeles and compelled to testify before the grand jury. The grand jury proceedings themselves are sealed, so the public does not know exactly what questions he was asked or what testimony he gave. Okay, drum roll, please. On April 16th, 2026, Burke was arrested by LAPD on suspicion of murder. On April 20th, 2026, the following charges were filed against David Anthony Burke. First-degree murder, continuous essay of a minor, mutilation of human remains. Essay of a minor significantly impacts potential sentencing. If Burke is found guilty, if they find that man guilty, he could face life in prison or the death penalty. They're not playing games with y'all. They're not playing any games. In one state, they're about to bring back the firing squad. And I feel like just like we have to go to jury duty, there should be a firing squad duty. Okay. So along with those charges, they staple special circumstances along with it, which are killing a witness, financial motive, lying in wait. He pled not guilty. Authorities claim that Burke had an illegal relationship with Celeste beginning when she was under the age of 14. He allegedly killed her to prevent her from exposing the relationship and protect his music career and reputation. You shouldn't have been doing that shit in the first place. Digital evidence. Detectives recovered communications between Burke and Celeste allegedly showing ongoing contact despite her being underage, attempts to arrange meetings. And it says, prosecutor says, messages suggest a secret relationship which supports the charge of continuous abuse of a minor. Some reports indicate communication stopped abruptly around the time of death. Location data. Cell phone records and app data shows Burke and Celeste in the same location prior to disappearance. The data from the Tesla logs can include GPS history, door activity, and vehicle access. Investigators believe the car traveled to and from the area where the body was discovered. The Tesla is a primary crime scene. Investigators reportedly examined biological evidence, that means blood and tissue traces, and transfer evidence inside of the vehicle. And just recently, just recently, a whole video is going around of him and his friends, like, kind of like hanging out, doing whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry in advance about the smell in my bathroom. And then Neo is there and he's looking like, I think he knows. He knows what happened. If anybody knows, it's him. When I come back, we're going to go through some of the court documents. 40 terabytes of CSAM. We all want justice for Celeste. She never had a chance to grow up. She never had a chance to do anything. She never had a chance to be a kid for real. The prosecutors are going to argue that he did this to her to save his reputation. Your ass shouldn't have been doing that nasty ass shit in the first place. He could face the death penalty. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Bye.